Howdy, y'all. I'm Brylan. So, Kamala gave a speech yesterday at the Economic Club of Pittsburgh where she touted her economic plan to save America from herself. But I must say that this was an absolutely horrid speech. It did nothing to benefit her. In fact, it probably did more damage than good. And even CNN admitted that there was no substance to this speech. But there are a few things that I want to point out, especially in the opening of her speech. I want to go through in this video and show you some things that are just downright terrifying if this woman actually becomes president. Let's do some fact checking, shall we? Hey, real quick, would you hit that thumbs up button? You know when you like this video to get pushed out to more people, and it would really help spread the truth. Here's how she opened her speech.
Many Americans are worried about how they'll afford the prescription medication they depend on. All of this is happening at a time when many of the biggest corporations continue to make record profits while wages have not kept up pace. I understand the pressures of making ends meet. I grew up in a middle-class family.
Okay, first of all, that necklace looks kind of familiar. Where have I seen that? Oh, that's right. It's the $62,000 Tiffany necklace. Duh. But I just want to point out, Kamala Harris didn't grow up in like some struggling middle-class family that couldn't make ends meet. Both of her parents were actually quite successful. She grew up in a very nice area. Once again, this is Kamala trying to fit in. Be a chameleon, make herself sound like she knows exactly what you're going through in this economy that, well, it has been destroying you for the last 4 years under her watch. In fact, just take a little look-see at what Sleepy Joe just said on The View. This was just the other day.
And as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy.
He literally said there wasn't a single thing that was done that she wasn't a part of. Kamala Harris is literally the czar of everything. Not just the border, but everything. I feel like this is Sleepy Joe's way of like implicating her on what people can expect from her presidency, like literally everything that nobody wants. Remember, he also did this.
Donald Trump intends to take America backward to the failed policies of the past. He has no intention to grow our middle class. He's only interested in making life better for himself and people like himself, the wealthiest of Americans.
Oh wait, you mean the guy that has like 5 foreign assassin teams in the United States right now trying to hunt him down? And the same guy that had 2 failed assassination attempts on him where one actually hit him in the ear? And the guy who has had the entire weight of her justice system dumped down on him and prosecute him for things that the literal sitting president right now did too? And the same guy that has a corrupt judge just waiting to sentence him to Rikers Island next month, which, by the way, that same judge would like to see him locked up for the rest of his life. Listen, this has nothing to actually do with Trump. You don't have to like Trump, but this is the left's boogeyman. I've said this before, that Trump is just a code name for you. They hate you. If you're not a part of the left, if you're not indoctrinated into the left's ideologies, into their insane radical agenda, then you are Trump. You are the boogeyman that they must get rid of.
And here's the thing. Here's the beauty of it all. We know how to build an economy like that.
Do we?
We do know.
You know?
How to unlock strong shared economic growth for the American people. History has shown it.
Gotcha.
Time and again.
And you took it
When
nuts.
we invest in those things that strengthen the middle class, manufacturing, housing, healthcare, education, small businesses, and our communities, we grow our economy and catalyze the entire country to succeed. I have pledged that building a strong middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
This is the same woman that has been the VP, the vice president, for 4 years now. She hasn't done a single thing. And remember, Sleepy Joe implicated her as being literally a part of everything that he's ever done. In fact, not only has she not done any of these things that she talks about or touts that she will do, but she's quite literally done the opposite of all of these things. She has shown you, she has proven to you who she will be as president by all of the things that she has done and frankly hasn't done as vice president. Just one example of this was the Inflation Reduction Act, which had nothing to do with reducing inflation. In fact, quite the opposite. It was a bill, a climate bill, to make the elites richer. Here's Sleepy Joe just a few weeks ago admitting that.
My investments, through my investments, the most significant climate change law ever, and by the way, it is a $369 billion bill. It's called we should have named it what it was, but at any rate.
Should have named it what it was. He's talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, which he can't even remember the name of because it isn't named after what the bill actually is. It was a climate bill that is meant to make them richer.
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work. And like generations before us, let us be inspired by what is possible. As president, I will be grounded in my fundamental values of fairness, dignity, and opportunity. And I promise you, I will be pragmatic in my approach. I will engage in what Franklin Roosevelt called bold, persistent experimentation. Because I believe we shouldn't be constrained by ideology and instead should seek practical solutions to problems, realistic assessments of what is working and what is not.
Okay, so she starts this ramble here with talking about moving past failed policy. This is the same woman that spent the last 4 years telling you how great and wonderful and how successful Bidenomics has been when it's just absolutely destroyed our economy. And once again, do I have to remind you that Sleepy Joe himself said on The View that she is a part of all of it. There wasn't a single thing that went through, that was done, that was decided without her being a part of it. And so she wants to move beyond what? Her failed policies? And she goes on to talk about fairness and how we shouldn't do things that don't work and how we should do things that do work and how she promises that she's going to evaluate what's working and what isn't and stop doing the things that aren't working and do the things that do work and all the things. I just want you to remember, though, that this is the same woman that is the vice president solely because of DEI. This was admitted by Sleepy Joe as well. This is also the same woman that said her values have never changed and will never change. Well, let's take a little look-see at some of the things that she said we must continue to do no matter what.
You know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah.
Even the women around her can't stand her and what she's saying. She's telling you that there is no other option. We must be woke. We must not be less woke. We must be more woke. It's also the same lady that said this.
On a different front, Axios this week reported that President Trump, if he gets a second term, will sort of dial back, for lack of a better term, DEI programs that the Biden administration has put in forth. I know you disagree with that. I obviously believe that you don't want him to get a second term. That said, if that does happen, what do you think that would do to race relations in this country?
Well, let me say we're going to win, so it's not going to happen. I think it's really important that we as Americans always embrace our history,
the parts that we're proud of and the parts that we're not proud of, but that we can't forget. And we should all agree that we should teach history. We should learn history if we're to ever have an accurate idea of where we want to go and where we don't want to go in the future. And that means also acknowledging the importance of diversity. It means acknowledging the importance of the fact that everyone should have equal opportunity to compete and equity. And then, of course, inclusion, that, hey, let's look around the room and see who's not here, and did we leave the door open?
What is happening? What? I don't understand. This woman is woke and DEI through and through. These things, both of these things, have proven to only destroy. They have zero benefit. They do not benefit our country. They do not benefit you. They only still kill and destroy. And that's why you're seeing major corporations and companies actually move away from DEI. Now, they're still doing similar things, just calling it something else. But if DEI was so wonderful, then why is Commie Law and Sleepy Joe and the entire left trying to push it and shove it down our throats when all it's doing is proving to sow discord, cause division, destroy?
I've always been and will always be, and be clear about this, I've always been and will always be a strong supporter of workers and unions. And I also believe we need to engage those who create most of the jobs in America. Look, I'm a capitalist. I believe in free and fair markets.
The only reason she's talking about supporting unions now, and she's trying to make this such a hitting point in her speech, is because what we just saw from the Teamsters poll. Teamsters historically always go Democrat by wide margins, huge numbers for Democrats. You can see that. Look at the polls recently that were done by Teamsters. The electronic poll showed 59% swung to Trump over Harry. You can see she's down to 34%. When they did a poll when Sleepy Joe was still in the race, you can see Sleepy Joe had 44% of Teamsters to Trump's 36%. Look at the massive shift since the coup. And you can see by this handy little chart here how Harris is collapsing with union support. You can see Biden, look at Wisconsin. Biden had 74%. Now look at Harris. Her numbers are 41%. Michigan, Biden had 58%. Harris is 35%. Pennsylvania, Biden had 43%, Harris has 31%. And all this talk about being a capitalist, this is the same woman that talks about forcing socialistic price gouging laws on companies, corporations, on everybody. And she constantly talks about how she wants to create a society where all people start and end in the same place. How do you do that? Again, what's that called?
So let's start then with the first pillar of an opportunity economy, which is lowering costs. So I made that our top priority for obvious reasons, because if we want the middle class to be the growth engine of our economy, we need to restore basic economic security for middle class families.
And then she says the number one thing she's going to do, the first pillar of her economic plan, is to lower costs. Doesn't give any, there's no substance, doesn't give any, ways that she's going to do it, but she's going to lower costs. You can be sure of it. Just look at the last 4 years. Real quick, look at Proverbs chapter 18 with me real quick. This is verse 7. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. When you use wisdom and discernment and you value the truth, you can tell a fool by the way that they talk, by the way that they like to say things, and then when they do things, it's different. But it's the same old game, the political game of say one thing, get in office, and do the opposite. You know, in this case, we have somebody that has been the vice president and has been a part of every major decision, not just major decision, but every decision that has been decided over the last 4 years. And it's clearly caused just absolute destruction, economically, socially, spiritually. And yet we are hearing how this same person is going to now do the opposite and fix all of those things. You know, I'm not one of those people that thinks that America is beyond saving. I absolutely believe that God could save America. Let's pray that he does. And while we pray this, let's continue to stand on the truth no matter what. But hey, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, join this community. I would love to hear from you regularly. And please hit that thumbs up button. You know, when you like this video, it'll get pushed out to more people and it would really help spread the truth. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.